Hi, I'm Sam Coffman, founder of The Human Path. The Human Path is an outdoor school where we teach everything from survival to clinical herbalism. My approach to teaching clinical herbalism is actually very much influenced by my own introduction to medicine, which took place over 25 years ago through my experiences as a U.S. Special Forces medic, also known as a Green Beret medic. My intensive baptism by fire into that world of learning led me to realize many things. First of all, it made me understand how important hands-on training is, regardless of the modality of healing you may be studying. Regardless of how you may be working and how you may see yourself as a healer, you have to get hands-on training in everything you learn. That's where true learning actually occurs. Secondly, my early medical training during those highly formative years for me taught me how important it was to be a generalist. A generalist is somebody who's good at a lot of different things. It's not good enough to be great at one thing and be no good at others. You have to be good at a lot of things. That means you have to be good, of course, at trauma and first aid and the very first primary care in a wilderness situation or a post-disaster situation. However, you also have to be and understand many other aspects of medicine: chronic illness, acute illness, pediatrics, OBGYN, veterinary medicine. All of those were important, and many, many more. It was important to understand all of those aspects and wrap them up into one full package. This then became, for me personally, a concept that I worked on for over 2 decades and I'm still working on now. That is the concept of the Herbal Medic. The medic that relies on herbal medicine. Herbal Medic has to be a generalist of even more depth than what I just talked about. Because now what you have to do as the Herbal Medic is understand deeper concepts that go into plant medicine. You have to understand botany. More than that, you have to understand our intuitive link to the plant world. You have to understand energetics. You have to understand all of these aspects of healing that don't even translate at all into the modern orthodox pharmaceutical model that we have been working under in the West for over a century. And finally, the third concept that was really driven home for me during my years of working as a Special Forces medic was the concept of having to apply everything I learned in a real-world setting and in ways that pushed my own personal boundaries. In other words, ways that not only helped other people, but ways that helped me learn. And this was the final piece that I really wanted to bring into my own Herbal Medics program. And to that end, I co-founded a nonprofit organization called Herbal Medics, a 501c3 organization that specifically exists solely for the purpose of being able to help other people through the use of both herbal medicine as well as all of the other concepts that we teach at the Human Path and the concepts that are necessary in order to have an effective mobile team in a fourth world environment or a third world environment, or even in North America in underserved areas, underserved populations, be it for epidemiology of sickness in an area being maybe bad water problems and water purification that our off-grid engineering teams do, for our scouts and our advanced parties to be able to go ahead and be the advanced party for an entire Herbal Medics team going into an area to find out exactly what their real needs are. Or maybe for our sustainability teams, our urban hunter-gatherers, to teach sustainable medicine and to teach sustainable gardening. All of those things come together, and all of them come together in this nonprofit organization in a way that allows my students and our volunteers and Herbal Medics to be able to get real-world experience in a way that helps other people, and the final piece of the puzzle comes together for students then. It's not just classroom learning, it's not just hands-on learning, it's not even just scenarios, which of course we do lots of scenarios, but even those aren't real. But it's real-world actual practice and real-world actual doing the skills and actually helping other people out that finally puts everything together. So what does my program actually look like, the Herbal Medic program? Well, it's divided into 2 parts. The first part is the basic, and the basic is just under 70 hours, 70 class hours. There's also a little bit of clinical hours that are expected out of my local students who come to the basic. That is a good fundamental basis for you to start from and to feel comfortable at home, working with loved ones, or yourself, to understand enough about herbs to be able to make your own tinctures, make your own salves, make your own syrups, your liniments, all of the things that we have to do. You'll be able to do that confidently by the end of that. You'll understand most of the terminology. You'll have a materia medica, knowledge of herbs. We'll have used over 100 herbs by the time you're done with that. A lot of herbs that we use. You'll have some that you actually know a lot about and some that you don't know much about, but you'll have used them at least. This is just a drop in the bucket. The full program is 524 hours. That includes 120 clinical hours. This is enough material for you to be able to apply to be a registered herbalist with the American Herbalist Guild if that's important to you. This is certainly enough information, certainly enough of a start, and certainly enough to be able to make you comfortable working with clientele if you wish to become an herbalist, if that's something that you wish to do and take it to the professional level. You can do that. This is the basis to be able to give you that knowledge and give you that confidence to do that as well, the whole 524-hour program over 18 months. However, what is most important to me is that after you've finished my basic and intermediate program, you are very confident in most types of basic trauma and wilderness first aid situations. You are confident in a remote situation or in a post-disaster situation. If you were to be and to have to be a provider of some type of health care using herbal medicine where there was no higher definitive care, you will be very confidently able to do that in a number of situations that most herbalists aren't, even if they've practiced for most of their life and worked for most of their life as herbalists, they probably aren't really comfortable with a lot of those situations. Now, of course, throughout all of this, you're going to gain obviously an immense amount of experience and skills and knowledge and confidence working as a clinical herbalist in a clinical setting with the things that are much more common in a first world environment. The things that we face in the United States as almost epidemic proportion to the overfeeding and yet undernourishing issues, the diet, the cardiovascular, the nutrition and lifestyle issues. All of that is part of this as well, of course. And what we do to break all of this down is to begin with in the intermediate section. After you've got the basic section out of the way, in the intermediate section of the full course, we start off with the pathophysiology modules, and this is studying the physiology of disease process as seen through the eyes of herbalism and as seen through the eyes of plant medicine. There's a different language, there's an entirely different paradigm that we break things down into and work from in order to give ourselves a much more effective foothold working as an herbalist. You can't approach many of these issues from the standpoint of orthodox pharmaceutical medicine if you're working with plant medicine. So that's a big part of what the 12 pathophysiology modules do. Additionally, we have other modules that cover things like botany, gardening, nutrition, clinical skills, actual clinical evaluation skills, in other words, physical exam skills. Lots and lots of hours in all of those areas. Additionally, in the intermediate module, you have to submit 12 case studies of your own. These 12 studies have to span at least 6 of the pathophysiology sections. So you can't just submit 12 case studies that are all related to dietary issues, for instance. Along with that, you have to also submit a thesis. There's an entire template that you get that you can work from that will allow you to be able to organize an individual, completely unique thesis. What this is all doing for you. What is this course? How does this all wrap up into your own thesis as well? And then, of course, finally, 120 clinical hours. Again, as I mentioned before, this gives you the minimum amount of clinical hours to apply for a registered herbalist. I think you need 100 hours for that, actually. But 120 hours is spread apart into weeks, clinical weeks, where even if you're a distant student, you can come down for a 6-day clinical practice and you can gain a certain amount of hours from that. And we are working actively right now to be able to provide at least 3 of those per year. Not to mention, of course, our Nicaragua trips and other places. So these clinical weeks are ways that we can go to various different locations throughout the U.S. and set up an herbal clinic for an entire week. The actual whole process of setting the clinic up, running the clinic, breaking the clinic down, and providing all the things that we need to, both as a clinic and apothecary, are all part of this experience as well. Very important parts of this experience. Again, everything that I'm trying to do always translates into that clinical herbalist as the only sole healthcare provider that has to do everything. I want people to have that kind of broad generalist background. So how does this course actually work and how much does it cost? Well, first of all, the basic course is something that you can do online fairly easily, but it's a very interactive online course. I wanted this to be available to everybody around the country. Even though we also do it on site, I want the online course to be the equivalent of that, to include the hands-on portions. So there are some materials, there are some herbs that I send out, there are webinars that are very interactive, there is homework, and there are videos, there are some tests, and the entire course is set up from a start to an end point. The online course portion for the basic course lasts 12 weeks, and that's 2 nights a week. All of those sessions are recorded in case you missed the class for some reason, and there are some required assignments and some required questions and answers that you have to be able to interact with so that you're really getting it. And then of course there's interactive creation of tinctures, of syrups, and of salves. We do those 3 particular preparations as well as part of this, and we do that as a video cast, and we do it with the same materials that I send you when you sign up for the course. The cost for this basic course, this 12-week course online, is $350. That includes all the materials I just talked about, the herbs that you'll get in the mail, as well as a percolation funnel and directions for that, as well as a CD that has all of the written material on it. That's an introductory cost, and the price will most assuredly be going up at the first of the year. One final word on this is that this basic course will set you up to be able to go straight into the intermediate course if you wish to. So the intermediate course and the basic course together, what I talked about earlier, the total is 524 class hours. However, this basic course, the one that is $350, that is about 70 hours total. Once we're done with all the homework and assignments, etc., the actual class hours is closer to 48 or 50, but the total hours you're going to put in on is about 70. The total cost of everything, if you were to sign up for everything all at once, the basic and the intermediate, which is a total of an 18-month program, most of which is online, however some of it has to be done on campus, is $2,800. That's for the course itself. That's not for any of the clinical weeks. Those are separate and those are extra. Alright, well I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you in one of my classes one of these days. Thank you for watching.